So in today's video, I'll be talking about drawing your firearm or presenting your firearm, whichever term you want to use. And a reminder as usual, if you haven't yet watched my firearm safety video, definitely do that first. I always have a link to it in my description, so go ahead and view that. For this, about drawing from a holster, I would assume that you're pretty familiar with shooting, or at least you kind of learn what you needed to learn about just the basics of shooting first, because this is actually getting into the realm of being kind of advanced. So I mean, I'm pretty sure you probably think that you already know all the safety rules, but still, for the purposes of my videos, I definitely want to recommend that you watch my firearm safety video as well, in case there might be something in there that you might not have thought about before, or just as a refresher, so you can kind of have it in the forefront of your mind. Okay, so there are a lot of different reasons for why people want to own a firearm, and one of those reasons, I mean, it's not like it doesn't have to be the only reason. You could have it for multiple reasons, but if your reasoning includes having a firearm for self-defense, and you're planning on, or you did just get your concealed carry license, so that given that your state permits it, so that you can actually defend yourself when you're not inside your house as well, then this is very important to know how to get that firearm out in that situation where you need it. Now obviously, my video, you can tell by the way I'm dressed, it really only applies to if you're wearing this type of attire, like a pants and a shirt that's untucked, because there's different situations that would be different, and I'll show you like another option as well that might work for if you need to wear a tucked-in shirt. But in terms of, let's say, like a female that's wearing a dress or a skirt, or something that won't have pockets, or a part of the waist that gets covered by a shirt, obviously this video would not really help them there. And there are videos out there for you too, so definitely look for those. But yeah, for people wearing the pants and a shirt, I'm going to be showing you how to draw from concealed with this type of attire. There are a lot of options for how to have your firearm on you. What type of holsters that you want to carry. You don't want to carry your firearm without a holster. That's actually not safe at all. And the first one I want to show you is having your holster on your hip. And what I have is a leather pancake holster outside the waistband, and this is a full-size 1911, the 5-inch barrel. There are a lot of the other options for a holster that goes on the belt here. There's like inside the waistband, and there's other materials, like there's Kydex and things like that. I actually prefer the leather ones, because I find that they hug the body a little bit closer than the plastic, like the Kydex ones do. They seem to kind of stick out a little bit more, in my opinion, and I guess maybe on some people it wouldn't make a difference, but on me, I would notice it if it sticks out a little bit more. Even though like a lot of those other ones, those plastic ones, have more features. They'll have like adjustable belt clips, and maybe you can make it so that you can just easily take it out, put it back in, whatever. Yeah, it has more features, but for me, I think the most important thing is how well it conceals. And as you can see, like this full-size 1911 conceals pretty well, and it's thanks to this leather holster. I've tried other ones, and they will show a little bit more. With this, is you won't really see it, and there might be like small little things that might show, but like it's nothing that would show that it's a firearm. And even if you have a shirt that's a little higher, and maybe the bottom of this might show a little bit, that's the reason why I pick like very neutral colors. Like this is black. I mean, people's phone holsters are black, and there's a lot of things that's black that could be on your belt. And if you're passing by somebody and they see a little bit of this, my muzzle is not sticking out the bottom of the holster, so all they see is this little bit of black leather. First thing they think of is not going to be a firearm. They're probably going to think it's, a cell phone or some other kind of pouch, or they might not think anything at all. It's just there. It doesn't really stand out. So, but yeah. So when you have this kind of outfit where you have your shirt covering your holster with your firearm, it's very tempting to want to use one hand to pull it up and then use the other hand to go for the weapon. But I see, you see a lot of people teaching that, and I mean it works obviously. You're getting this out of the way first, and then you're going for it. But what I always like to teach, what I always like to recommend are things that work for that cover the worst case scenario. So because in my opinion, all of this you have to plan for the worst and hope for the best rather than plan for the best. And then just hope that the best happens, because if you're planning for the best, you might as well just not carry. The best scenario is that you never need to use it. That's the ultimate best scenario. So thinking about the worst possible scenario, what if you need your other arm for something? Let's say you need to protect your loved one, you want to pull them behind you, or even worse, your other arm is injured, so you only have one arm to use. So for that reason, I definitely like to show how to do this whole procedure using only one arm, one hand. So basically, in order to do this, the first thing you want to do is get your shirt or whatever it is out of the way. With your other hand, there's two options for this. If it's a situation where the person is right up close to you, you might want to use that hand to kind of keep them at arm's distance from you. I mean, if they're slashing with a knife, they could probably cut you in this process, but it's better than them coming right up to you and getting to more vital areas. So you might want to use this hand to keep them at arm's distance, or if that's not applicable for the situation, keep it close to your body, like right here around the chest area, until you have the firearm out. So the first step, you would basically take your clothes, your shirt up, and as soon as it is above the firearm and it's the firearm is exposed, just tuck your hand straight down into it with your thumb towards your body, like right up against your body. So the thumb would go in between the firearm and your body, and the webbing, just like I showed before in the grips video, would fall right on top of the back strap, the back curve of the grip of the weapon. And then with those three fingers that I showed you to grip the firearm, keeping the trigger finger straight, you would grip the grip of the firearm. Now, at this point in the actual drawing process, I do deviate a little bit from what is normally taught, and I'll show you that right now. The normal method that they teach is, after you get this, you pull it straight up, and as soon as it's free from the muzzle is free from the holster, and you'll feel it. You'll feel it kind of come loose. You start sweeping it forward, and then you meet with your other hand, and then you push forward to the full grip and your full posture. So this is how I differ from that. Instead of this motion where you're sweeping forward, one thing I want to point out is, where is the muzzle pointing this entire time? From here to there, the ground, right? I mean, so in my opinion, that's not useful, for your muzzle to be pointed at the ground, unless you're shooting at zombies that's crawling at you. But anyway, so the way I deviate from this, and before you hit the comment section to complain about how I'm adding steps to it and making it slower, I'll definitely address that, is as soon as the muzzle is free from the holster, while you are bringing it forward, drop your elbow first at the same time. What that does is that, now where is the muzzle pointed? And then you push forward from there. You do this at the same time as you're bringing it forward. You're just dropping the elbow first, and then bringing it forward. So most people who, before I've explained this in another video in the past, didn't really explain it that well, I guess. I must have kind of left some things out. The main complaint was a lot of people were assuming that this would make your draw slower. And they're like, oh, why would you make your draw slower? That's worse. You're adding you're adding unnecessary steps. It doesn't, because like I said, you're doing it at the same exact time as you would have been normally sweeping out. But now instead of sweeping out with the muzzle pointed at the ground, you're sweeping out with the muzzle pointed straight. The reason for that is that if the situation is that somebody is coming at you, closing the distance at great speed, running at you with a knife or something like that, the whole 21-foot rule, things like that, they'll get to you before you can draw your weapon. All that could be true. I mean, it's been proven actually. So I mean, so it's best to have that firearm ready to respond as quickly as possible. And so the time between it being ready when it's like this versus it being ready to do something about the threat if you drop your elbow first is actually it might seem like it's only maybe a second, but that's a lot, in that kind of situation where you're trying to fight for your life. That 1 second could mean life or death. So in my opinion, I definitely would rather have the muzzle of the firearm pointed in a useful direction as soon as possible. And like I said, it doesn't add any time to the actual drawing process. If you time it from here to there versus from here to there, it's the same. All I'm doing is that while I am moving it out, I'm dropping my elbow immediately after I get the firearm out of the holster. So if you really need to, you can shoot from the hip here. And I mean, I know you're probably thinking that I watch too many cowboy movies, but in fact, when you take licenses for things like armed security guard, K license, any of those licenses for professions that require firearms, they actually do require you to shoot from the hip. They put the target pretty close, but I mean, if you think about it, self-defense shooting, it usually occurs at a very close distance, so it's actually a pretty accurate representation. So you actually do have to qualify shooting from the hip to show that you can kind of feel where your firearm is pointing without using the sights in a general sense. And actually when the target is close, when I've done those things, I've been pretty accurate shooting, even just from the hip. You start to get a good sense of where your firearm is pointed, especially if you've used it a long time. And to get a little bit more advanced into that kind of technique, and this is something I learned fairly recently, maybe the last couple years. So even though I've been shooting for a long time, my philosophy is to always keep learning. You never feel like you know it all already. So one thing I kind of learned pretty recently, and I haven't really had too much of a chance to practice this too much, but from what I was told and what I was shown, it seems pretty sound. When you are forced to shoot from the hip, instead of having to worry about whether your firearm is pointed straight, left or right, and up and down, you can, if you know that you have to shoot from here, you can lean your upper body over a little bit so that now your firearm is basically right underneath your face. And even while I'm looking straight ahead at the target, I can see my firearm, and I can tell if it's cocked to the left or cocked to the right. I can see when it's not straight. So then in this case, you actually have an even more control over your aim. You have the left and right pretty much set to straight. You just have to worry about up and down, which is not too big of a deal, because I mean, if the person's in front of you, they're the same height as you or taller, unless you're pointing really extreme up or really extreme down, you're most likely going to hit them. So, but the disclaimer here is that don't start practicing shooting from that position. I mean, I would like for you to practice drawing that way, but don't start shooting until you're fully extended. The reason is that a lot of gun ranges that you will go to would have a bench in front of you that might be at a very inopportune level for you to practice that way. And also, it's also it's a more advanced shooting technique if you're trying to get used to. If you have a manual safety like this 1911, to disable it really quickly and get your finger on the trigger really quickly because you're thinking about shooting from down here, I mean, there's a chance that if you're rushing too much, you can shoot yourself in the leg. And you know, I've seen videos of that too. So definitely get really accustomed to the motions, get really good at shooting, get really good at safety, and then definitely have a range that would be open so that you can practice that. And even better if you can have somebody who's familiar with that kind of shooting to personally kind of coach you. You do everything slow and smooth first. You know, even the whole drawing, you do it nice and slow so that you get all the motions down, and then slowly you get faster and faster and faster. You do nice and slow just drawing, you know, rehearsing just drawing, then you start drawing and shooting, and then you know rehearsing and drawing again, shooting. But you do all the stuff slow. You know, you do it smoothly, so that you don't rush into it. But basically, to show you the draw process all together is somebody's coming at you. You see, you take the shirt up, push the hand straight down, draw, drop the elbow, and push straight up. Okay, I'm going to try to do that a little bit faster. Now that we got that drawing from a hip holster out of the way, this is not a new fashion sense of having a shirt tucked in the jeans for me, but I just tucked in my shirt to kind of show you another option for this. If let's say you're wearing something more dressy, and I mean they have tuckable inside the waistband holsters as well, but I feel like if you're wearing something that's a little bit more formal, that would show through the shirt, because when it's tucked in, it's kind of hugging your body a little bit closer than when the shirt is not tucked in. So another option for that then is pocket carrying, where you actually have just like a pocket holster. You don't just put the gun in your pocket. So you keep a firearm inside your pocket, and for that, unfortunately, you would definitely need to have a much smaller firearm than a full-size 1911. For this demonstration, I have, this is a Springfield XDS. It's a 3.3 inch barrel. It's a single stack magazine, so that it is actually pretty thin. I think it's only like an inch thick. The flush magazine that keeps it small, unfortunately, only holds 5 rounds. So you have 5 plus 1 in the chamber, 6 round capacity. But you can always keep spare mags. They usually have spare magazines that come with, you know, a little extension, so that, you know, this one carries 6, and I think I actually have one somewhere that holds 7. Yeah, it's somewhere. But anyway, so yeah, they do have these as well, so you can keep those as spares. So, you know, this is for having it in the firearm so that it'll fit in your pocket without anything sticking out. But then if you run out here, you go ahead and change it for the extended one. See, now it's a little bit longer. It might not fit in your pocket, but now you have more ammunition at your disposal. And drawing your firearm from the pocket is, I mean, it's pretty similar to drawing from a hip. Instead, you have to go into your pocket and, you know, basically draw out. You know, it's everything else is pretty much the same. There are some, I guess, drawbacks to carrying this way, besides the one that I've already addressed, which is the capacity of a firearm that can fit in your pocket. And one main really big drawback of carrying in your pocket is the fact that while you're sitting down, it is probably, especially if you're sitting down in a car where the seat is kind of like right up here, it is pretty impossible to get this firearm out quickly. That's kind of really bad thing about it. In my vehicle, I have like another holster that's strapped around the seat, and it's kind of hidden in front of the seat, you know, so that I can just put the firearm there while I'm driving, because then that's easy to grab. Because when you're sitting down trying to go in your, because
you can kind of see it actually. You see how it folds up the pants here? You know, try and pull it, it goes right up against your body, it goes right up against your hip. You know, so you actually have to kind of straighten out that leg just to get it out, you know. Another drawback about that is the type of holster that you buy. A lot of them tend to like not really hold its place because it's not strapped anywhere, you know, not like a hip holster that's actually locked to your belt. It's just sitting in your pocket along with the firearm. So the problem there a lot of times is the whole holster will come out with the firearm, you know, especially if you have bigger pockets, like looser pockets. That would happen a lot. You know, they do have holsters that advertise that they're super sticky and they would never come out, but I tried them and even they would sometimes come out. I mean, they're better, definitely better than the other ones. So I mean, like, you definitely try out different holsters. Try all the different kinds of holsters, even the ones for the hip, the ones in your pocket. The one big thing that you want to consider with the pocket holsters too is that a lot of them are not specific to the firearm. They're just kind of like generic sizes, like small, medium, whatever, you know, and they'll have a whole list of guns that supposed to be fitting them. What I found is that they don't really completely work sometimes. Like this one that I have, and I'm not going to show the name because actually I'm not really sure if I think I might have bought one that meant for different firearms, so I don't want to give them a bad name by making it seem like they didn't make the holster right, but I can see how this could be a problem for others. The firearm was sitting a little bit too deep into it, and around here it's like a little sewing. It's like I guess it's kind of like a border around this material. So there's a little bit of a kind of catch on the inside, and it was actually catching on the sight, and that was kind of like, it was making it hard to separate the holster from the firearm because the rear sight was actually catching the inside of that lip. What I ended up having to do was sew something on here to keep the firearm from dropping so low into it, and then I actually ended up also cutting that lip out. So I mean, I did a couple of really ghetto modifications myself, but it works now, so you know, it's all good. But you know, definitely keep those things in mind when you're buying a holster. See if you can open the package and see if you can put your firearm that you plan to get. I mean, don't pull out your firearm in the middle of a gun store. You know, a lot of them actually do not like that, and for good reason. To see if they have one, the same model as what you have, and go ahead and try that out to see if any of those things apply. If it seems like it'll catch on the holster or anything like that. So that's a very important thing to keep in mind when shopping for a pocket holster, if that's what you plan to do. But like I said, it does have its drawbacks in terms of accessibility. So the preferred method for me is to carry it on the hip with the hip holster. But you know, that sometimes if you're wearing, even if you're not wearing a tuck-in shirt, you're just wearing a shirt that's really tight, you want to show off your muscles, you know, then having a gun here might not work either. So then you might still have to use a pocket holster even though you're not tucking your shirt. But those are the different you know, ways to draw the firearm. Like I said, with the pocket, it's the same. You put your hand in your pocket and you put the same grip on the weapon with the thumb between the firearm and your body. Grip it with the 3 fingers. You know, see, it's a little more work, but once you get it out, same thing. I recommend dropping the elbow and pushing straight out. But yeah, so that's basically the basics of drawing your firearm. Remember to keep safety in mind for this, because drawing from a holster is getting into the advanced shooting category. You don't want any accidents. You see a lot of people that do accidentally shoot the ground, shoot their foot, shoot their leg, shoot the bench. When you go to the gun range, you might notice holes in the bench in front of you, and yes, it is from people shooting it. So, you know, definitely be very conscious about that. Do everything slow. Don't rush anything in the beginning. You don't need to look like a professional when you're in the very beginning. You know, like, go ahead and do everything nice and slow, you know, get it to where your muscle memory remembers all the motions, you know, before you start slowly getting faster and faster, okay? So again, thank you for watching my video, and just remember to train hard and have fun, and always be prepared but be safe, okay? Thank you again.